Hi Mark, lovely to meet you. All the way from Omaha.
Omaha, Nebraska, yes.
Do you want to tell me a bit about your firm, Dundee Ventures, and also a bit about the Omaha ecosystem?
Oh, I'd love to. Well, so I started Dundee Venture Capital a couple of years ago in Omaha, Nebraska. In the heart of Omaha is a little community called Dundee, which is, sort of like Ireland, right? Like what you're talking about. And so in Omaha, there really isn't an ecosystem quite yet developed for venture funding. I had started two companies, one called giftcertificates.com and another called hayneedle.com, and both times it was just super frustrating for me to try and raise that seed capital. We couldn't find it. Got a lot of people that would sit there and listen politely and say, well, this is really interesting, but good luck with that, and it was frustrating, and I kept saying, one of these days I'm going to do something about that. Well, one of these days came. The timing was right, and I was able to start this fund and help entrepreneurs get going with their businesses. This is kind of a dream of mine, so our last company, Hayneedle, is of the size where I really can't impact it day to day. When we raised our funding, we took some chips off the table, and now I'm recycling that money. As you know, it's all fungible, right?
Yeah.
We put it back into new companies.
How exciting. Oh my God, that would be a great dream of mine, but I don't think I'm going to do that in this life. I'll just continue to support the VCs. But that's fabulous. How many years have you been in practice?
Well, we started 2 years ago. Our first fund was really small, $2 million. And we filled that up really fast. And so the deal flow was amazing in the Midwest. And we focus on Boulder to Omaha, Minneapolis, Chicago, down to Kansas City. And the reason for that is there's so many companies that were like mine. And I would get phone calls from people, how do I raise money? Where do I access that $100,000 to $500,000? So then we started a second fund, and it's a $15 million fund, and we're about 2/3 of the way through that. We've invested in about 20 companies overall, and you know what, I'm just really enjoying it too. I really am. It's just a passion of mine. Yeah.
You've got a good smile on your face, so I'm sure you're authentic about that.
It's fun. I really enjoy it, yeah.
So tell me a bit about the domains that you're mainly interested in. Has it come from your own operating experience?
Right, yeah, so e-commerce and web service companies. It's what we know, it's sort of what we do, and we have great relationships with other funds around the Midwest that if there's software or biotech or something, we want to work with those folks too and just pass it off to them.
What do you think are the opportunities at the moment for those sort of domains?
I just think, the cost to start a business has dropped significantly. The time to start a business has just been crunched down. Back when we started Hayneedle, which was almost 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, it would take us 6 months to get a website up and going. And today you can do that in 6 hours. And so I think the development of that, as far as young people realizing they can start a business from anywhere, they really don't need to have the complete skill set that everybody keeps pounding into them to say, you've got to have this, you have to have that. They can do it from virtually anywhere. And we just think the cost of living and the work ethic in the Midwest is just a little bit different, that we're insulated somewhat. So Dundee can do a lot of the heavy lifting. We can get these companies out of the ground and get some track record going, and then start to show it to the next higher level funds.
And so I'd love to know your thoughts on what's happening in the venture industry. Obviously there's been quite a few changes in the last couple of years, particularly with the crowdfunding piece coming in,
right,
the Jobs Act. And everyone seems to have different perspectives, and I'm really interested to know what you think about it.
Well, I think crowdfunding is great. And first of all, I wish we would have had it. Because it's easy, it's a cheap cost of money, and you can really get something out there pretty quickly. So I'm fully in favor of it. I think we're a little insulated from some of the other dynamics that's going on because we're in such a new environment in the Midwest. So I don't think we have a lot of exposure to what might be happening in the Valley or down in Los Angeles or New York or Boston. I think there's just generally a heads down, we're creating businesses that generate revenue that hopefully really quickly will be cash flow positive.
So in a way, really, you've been breaking ground, being one of the few venture capitalists in that area.
Right.
And are you noticing any more starting to spring up now that you've sort of started to break the ground off and Pathfinder?
Yeah, good question. Not yet, but what I am seeing is there's a little bit of an ecosystem that's developing around understanding what this is. So you had pockets of angels who wanted to do something like this, they just didn't know how to vet the investments properly. And so I think they see that there's a vehicle to do that, and they realize if we've gone through the diligence and we've gone through the team and vetted out the management team and the idea and whatnot, they realize maybe we should invest with these guys. So it's bringing the capital together instead of having it in silos, and it's, you know, a bunch of doctors and dentists trying to figure out, should we invest in something that's a startup, for gosh sakes, you know.
So are you having fun at TechCrunch Disrupt?
I'm loving it, yeah, I'm loving it. I'm overwhelmed. The density here, the ideas and the capital and the people, it's great. Yeah.
It's sort of how we live here in the Bay Area. It's actually sort of par for the course, but it's pretty amazing to have it all in one building.
It is, and that's why we're here. We don't really attend conferences. This is one, though, that we always have on the calendar to be at. You know, one of our investors in Hayneedle is Doug Leone from Sequoia Capital, and so it's good to catch up with him, and you know, and share some ideas and stories too.
Look, I wish you all the best with your fund and your firm, and I hope that things go really well. And I'm sure you're a trailblazer, and we'll hear about you years down the line as the ones that started.
Get you to Omaha, and we'll get you a nice steak, and we'll show you around.
Okay. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.